Hi, I'm Doug Storey. I'm the moderator for the town of Bolton. And on June 22nd at 7 p.m., we'll be holding our annual town meeting at the high school. This year is very different than any other town meeting we've had in the past. As we all know, our lives changed several months ago. And the way in which we do almost everything in our lives has changed. There are many, many new procedures and new ways of doing things that we have encountered in the months recently since the COVID pandemic happened. And we've all had to adapt, and it's been a learning experience. And believe me, town meeting is a very similar situation. Many of the things we've done in the past just wouldn't work this year. So we spent a lot of time trying to prepare a process and a set of procedures for our town meeting that will allow us to conduct our very important town business in a democratic fashion and allow our citizens to be involved in that process and to vote and choose what we will do as a town. But we're going to do it differently this year. We tried very hard to be accommodating and to provide a variety of options that allow for the safety of all of our citizens while we conduct this town meeting. So I'd like to go through here how we're going to handle this meeting and explain it to you so that hopefully whoever can see this and share it with other people will have a better understanding when they show up on Monday the 22nd for our town meeting, what's going to happen. The first thing is that safety is paramount. And we have been very much following CDC guidelines, Mass Department of Health guidelines, local Department of Health guidelines, and this is all very important. So please, anyone who is sick currently, has been sick in the last 2 weeks, or has been exposed to COVID in the last 2 weeks, please don't come to the meeting. Just as your healthcare providers would tell you that you should stay home and quarantine and not be around other people, certainly the same is true for our meeting. And I would also say that anyone who has any pre-existing conditions that put you in a higher rate of risk, you've got to do what's best for you and your family. So this may be a year that some people choose not to come who otherwise would have. And that just makes good logical sense. And I recommend that everybody think about that for their own personal situation. But for those of you who are going to come, the first step is to bring your warrant with you. This is the warrant for the annual town meeting. It was mailed to every household, and this lists every article that we'll vote on June 22nd, and you should bring that with you and use that as a reference throughout the meeting, always. One of the things we've done is try to accommodate people in a variety of seating locations so that we can maintain social distancing of 6 feet or more at all times in all seating. And when I say that, any family members can certainly sit together. People who live in the same family, live in the same household, but otherwise you should be maintaining 6 feet social distancing from anyone else. As you enter the meeting, as you check in, as you sit, and as we exit the meeting as well. One of the things we're going to do is limit the seating. So in our auditorium that can hold 600 people, this year we will have a much lower number. So I'm just going to briefly show you my little chart here. Green is a viable seat. Everything else is not. So you'll see that we only have about 100 seats in the auditorium. Once those are full, that space will be limited from that point. We are going to have a secondary seating location in the gymnasium, and we're going to have seats out, laid out with distancing between them. Seats will be on the floor of the gymnasium. And they'll be in groups of 2, assuming that in many cases it's 2 members of the same family. But if for some reason there were 3 or 4 members of your family, you could put your chairs together, of course. But otherwise, we again ask you to maintain the distancing. And we're going to have a third location, and that's going to be outside, right outside the entrance to the auditorium. We will be presenting the meeting underneath the overhang. There will be microphones in both, all three locations, and we will have assistant moderators in the other two locations. Ken Troop will be the assistant moderator in the gymnasium. Many of you know, longtime selectman, and John Carlin, a longtime planning board member, will be the assistant moderator in the outdoor location. So they will be managing the meeting in those locations, helping me while I manage the meeting in the main auditorium. In the auditorium, we will have a set of procedures that we need to follow in all three locations that I just wanted to go over quickly. I've already mentioned if you're sick, you shouldn't come to the meeting, that we're going to maintain social distancing, 6 feet at all times. Everyone must wear a mask. This is a requirement for any meetings of people that are grouped together, and it's a best practice, and we're going to require it. And that's in all three locations. If someone has a health condition that prevents them from wearing a mask, we'll provide a separate designated location for those rare cases where someone cannot wear a mask. Certainly you'd understand that other people would want to make sure that there was quite a bit of distance. Outside, I mentioned as a location, we're not going to provide seating outside, so you do need to bring your own chair. Bring your lawn chairs, bring your chairs that you would take to a ball game, so that you have something to sit in. Also, we're going to close off the parking lot, so there won't be cars, or there won't be many cars in that location, and there won't be any traffic in that during the meeting. A couple of things about the actual meeting itself. Our goal is to handle our normal business, but in a shortened time frame, in the interest of safety. So in trying to shorten the time frame, we've put some additional procedures in place. Number one, we're limiting speakers to a 1-minute time of speaking, and only one time per issue or per article. And I will be steadfast on that, I can tell you. Also, we're limiting our presentations to 1 to 3 minutes and only a few slides. But most importantly, we intend to vote on what's called a consent agenda. And a consent agenda is when you group together a series of articles and vote on them all at once without any debate. The reason for a consent agenda is really a very normal and typical thing in town meeting, that there are many articles that they're pretty straightforward, pay unpaid bills, or something relatively simple, that there really isn't much debate on ever, and there really is almost always unanimous consent on it. So the intent of the consent agenda is to vote a group of articles together and to get unanimous consent on those articles and to be able to quickly deal with that group of articles. This year we're doing 15 articles together, more than normal. I think, the times call for this. However, we do have one provision that allows, before we do that vote, if anyone wants to stand up and ask for a hold on a particular article, they are allowed to do that. I ask you to strongly consider not doing that. We've taken a lot of time in thinking about this and putting this together so that those articles can be voted together and shorten the length of the meeting. But if there's something that you have serious debate on, you should ask for a hold, because I want all the other articles to pass unanimously without any debate, without any concern. So please work with us on that consent agenda. And we will be posting both these procedures, the consent agenda, and the entire town meeting slides ahead of time with this video so that everyone can look at this in advance and be prepared for this town meeting. A couple of things on the procedures for how we'll conduct the meeting. Basically, with 3 locations, we have to conduct it in parts. So we'll do the auditorium first, then we'll finish in the auditorium, and I will turn the meeting over to Ken Troop in the gymnasium. And then he will allow for any discussion there in his group. And then when he's done, we'll turn it over to John Carlin in the outdoor arena. So we'll go in 3 parts. So you can see how that will actually take longer than it normally would take, which is why we want to have fewer votes. We have 24 articles, one of which is the budget, which is a very important one, and we will spend time on, as we always do. That's Article 3. First 2 are pretty easy, but we're going to just do those as regular articles and vote them. I think they'll pass unanimously pretty quickly. And then the 4th article will be this consent agenda with 15 articles grouped together. Then we will do 3 planning board articles together. They will give their presentation as they normally do. Then we will have 4 more articles. So it's conceivable that we could do this entire meeting with only 8 or 10 votes. That would be ideal, and that would allow us to finish this meeting in a shorter time frame in the interest of everyone's safety. And I really would ask that you consider trying to help us all in that endeavor. I'd like to close by saying I just want to thank everyone who's given input to this process. And it's really many, many people. Many of us in the town government have been working on this, the select board, the advisory committee, Don Lowe, our town manager, Pam Powell, our town clerk, Jenny Jacobson, our town secretary, myself, Jen Magnuson, many others working on this, as well as Bolton Access TV and the group there, and Nikki, and they've worked very hard with us on this. But there have been many other people who have offered input, and I want to thank you for that. It's been helpful, and I just want you to know that we have taken time, effort, thought, much careful review in trying to determine what the best way is to move forward. There are many different ways that we could have done this, and I'm sure you've heard of other towns that are doing different things. And every town is different, and every different process would require a whole different set of parameters. So I hope you realize that a lot of effort has gone into this, and we're doing this in the interests of conducting our town business, in allowing us to have our town government continue to operate, to continue to pay our bills, and to allow our citizens to have a vote and a say in how our government operates, which is what town meeting is. So town meeting will go on, and it will be done a little different this year. We ask for your support and your help, and we thank you.